Well, that game won't last longer than memory. Hull 0, Millwall 0. It stopped the rot, but fans are still not happy. Why are you signing players if you're not even going to play them? That's the Millwall view, and we've got Callum and George here to discuss all that, plus transfer deadline day, and of course look ahead to the next game, the visit of Sheffield Wednesday. Welcome to our Lions Walk.
No one likes us! No one likes us! No one likes us! We don't care! We are Millwall! So Millwall! We are Millwall! From the den!
Welcome back, Callum, and welcome back, George. We haven't seen you for a long time on this channel, but you are very welcome back. How are you, my friend?
Good. How are you, mate? You okay?
Yes, we'll get all your views on. It's been a crazy month for Millwall in a second, but we're going to talk about the whole game and what both of your opinions are on that. Neil Harris is coming on some more stick from fans about not playing certain players. We'll get your views on that and also look ahead to the visit of Sheffield Wednesday, as we said, and it's transfer deadline day as well. What's been the most impressive deadline day signing that Millwall have ever made, or even the worst? Put it in the comments below and we'll get Callum and George's view on all of that as well. All right, Callum, let's start then with the whole game. We talked last week about how he needs to shore up defence, and can't blame them. He did exactly that. How and why?
So I think Tanganga's got a massive part to play in that. He just came straight back into the team. Obviously, Hutchinson towards the start was very good. So a few bad moments, but Tanganga's come back in on Saturday, done very well, shored up the defence. He makes the defence look so much better, in my opinion. But yeah, I think all the back line played their part. And yeah, I think Tanganga's got a massive part to play in that. Jensen had a good few saves as well in the game. So overall, very good defensive performance. Should have won, really, in my opinion, as well. We've had a few good chances, especially in that first half as well with Saville. But yeah, overall, very good performance. Happy with a clean sheet, and obviously we move on to the next Saturday.
Yeah, George Jensen needed that clean sheet, didn't he? He's not had the best of starts, quite shaky in some games, but that will give him the world of confidence, won't it?
No, yeah, for sure. I think the overhead kick save very late on in the game from sort of point blank range was an excellent save to make, and I'm happy for him. Because he's come in for money in the summer and replaced Sarkic, of course, where there was a whole tragedy behind that, of course, and he's been brought in with lots of pressure on his shoulders, and I think that opening weekend game against Watford, it was just maybe a bit too much pressure, considering the pre-match sort of tributes and everything which went on. So I think he's come in and he's a good goalkeeper. He was most clean sheets in League One last season. So I'm very happy that he can finally he's kept a clean sheet at last, and he can build on this going forward.
Reading some of the social media comments, Callum, I'm going to go through some in a minute. I feel a little bit sorry for Harris, because the previous weeks people have been saying, oh, you sort this defence out, this is not good as leaking 7 goals in 2 games, and then he's done that, and now the flip side is happening, saying, well, you're not starting the right forwards in games. Where do you sit on the criticism of? I mean, Langstaff is the obvious one that people are calling out for. Are people right to criticise him for? I mean, people are saying, look, you're giving the guy 3 or 4 minutes a game. What's the point? What's the point of doing that? Can you see fans' point of view or
not? Yes, I can. See fans' frustration. I think he needs to give him more time on the pitch. Obviously, he got 90 minutes or sort of around 85 against Portsmouth in the Cup. I might be wrong there, but he might have a little bit less. But yeah, he didn't have a lot to do in that game. He had some good link-up play in that game as well. But I think he's just trying to give him some time is probably the best thing. But I think Bradshaw is kind of having a rough spell at the moment. He's not really doing much for me. So I would probably pick Langstaff over him. But maybe that might be the trust thing with Harris. I think he trusts Bradshaw more than Langstaff. Maybe he doesn't trust him as yet because he's not really. We're only like 3 games in. So I think it's probably a trust thing with Harris and Bradshaw. You probably trust Bradshaw more than Langstaff at the moment. But yeah, again, I would probably start him over Bradshaw just to give us something different. But then again, I can see why fans are frustrated. I mean, only bringing him on for 3 or 4 minutes on Saturday was quite poor, in my opinion. I think he should have brought him on at least like 60 minutes in, 50 minutes in, even just to freshen up a little bit.
George, this is a flavour of what they've been saying. Ryan says, "Why is Harris crying about no signings yet gets them and gives them F all times? Please, someone tell me what Tom Bradshaw offers this football club except running around like a headless chicken." Ian similarly says, "You are wasting a talented striker's potential by waiting until the 18th minute to bring on Macaulay Langstaff into the game. You have gone and made a goal-scoring machine from a hero to zero by not allowing him match time." And that was just two of a very similar, very angry fan base following full-time at the MKM. Can you see their point of view, George, or do we trust in Harris a bit more than what fans are giving credit for?
No, for sure. I hear it. The way I see it is, first and foremost, I actually feel incredibly sorry for Terrace because he's been brought in, in the summer. We've not quite had the backing we would have probably liked, and he's clearly not very happy with the business we've made. And I think there's been a relationship breakdown between Steve Gallen, who's the head of recruitment, and the manager. And you can see that in his post-match quotes, some of the little digs he makes, leaving substitutes. On a match day squad, we'll usually have 9 subs or 8 subs, and he'll leave a man out on purpose, or we'll put two goalkeepers on the bench, which shows that Harris is trying to make a point that the business we've done this summer is clearly not good enough. However, one of the signings he has made, Macaulay Langstaff, he doesn't want to give him a chance. So I see it. I do see both sides. However, Harris has to start playing Macaulay Langstaff. He simply has to start giving him a chance, because Tom Bradshaw works incredibly hard and his press is very good. However, outside of that, I don't think he offers a lot. I think his general hold-up play and his first touch isn't that good. And we've got a striker there who, although unproven at this level, has scored bags full of goals in the last 3 seasons. We're talking 70, 80, 90 goals in the last 3 seasons at League 2 and National League level. So he has to be given a chance, considering we spent money on him. And I'm hoping he's given a chance Saturday at home to Sheffield Wednesday. I'm hoping he starts up front. We've obviously got the midweek game against Leyton Orient. We'll see what happens there. He should start that game, and hopefully he can score, because with strikers, it's about confidence. And if your manager is not showing confidence in you, you're not going to score goals, unfortunately. So sooner rather than later, Harris will have to bite the bullet. But at the same time, I think we've just got to go with his trust. We've just got to trust Neil Harris at the end of the day, because he's the manager. He knows the squad and the players better than anyone else. And I have read that Macaulay Langstaff has been nursing a toe injury, which he had surgery on over the summer. So whether or not that's true or not, that certainly impacts things. But for sure, Macaulay Langstaff has to be given a chance sooner or later.
I have a couple more
Can I
for
just
you.
comment on that quickly?
Yeah, come to me.
Can I just comment on it quickly? Like, obviously, I'd quite totally agree with Jules there. And what I would add is, strikers have got to get creativity and, balls into the box to score goals. And I think, obviously, we've lacked that, especially so far. Well, obviously, we scored goals this season, but especially like the back end of last season, we were probably one of the lowest scorers in the league. So I think we're trying to bring in these creative players. So, I mean, Femi Aziz is a great signing for us. We just got to mention him before. I think that's a great signing. Obviously, we need to buy another number 9 because Kevin Nisbet's gone on loan. But I think we need to get players in that can put balls into the box. I think Eze's done really well, but I think strikers need creativity around them to score goals, and we're just not giving Bradshaw or Langstaff them crosses or passes into the box at the moment. So I think we just need to do more transfers and hopefully get a few more buds in and out last week of the window.
Yeah, we'll come on to transfers in a second and ask you for your opinions on the ins and outs in a minute. Let's just finish off on this game, if that's all right, first, though. Raimondo says he wanted to adopt a clean sheet mentality. We'll play Honeyman and Bradshaw. Certainly achieved that, which I liked. Well done, Raimondo. What about this one from Gumbo and Callum? I thought Denori went under the radar yesterday, his best game in a very long time. Just agree with that?
I wouldn't say his best game in a very long time. I wouldn't go that far, but I'd say he did do very well. Obviously the first 3 games, he's done okay. He's had a few rough patches in the last couple of games. But yes, he did play very well. He did go under the radar. But I think the whole team played very well defensively on Saturday, sorry, should I say.
George, it's the first time we've had a chance to catch up with you being away this summer. And last year we spent hours and hours talking about Millwall and what they need and where they're going to be. Honestly, where do you see Millwall finishing based on? Let's presume that no more transfers come in or go out. And what you've seen so far, where do you see Millwall finishing?
Well, as of today, where we are right now, the facts are the squad is not good enough. I think the squad has digressed from last season, and I think it's digressed even more from the season before that. And that's where I made the point where I feel slightly sorry for the manager, because as the head coach, he's not the one in charge of making the signing. It's the recruitment team who are in charge of making the signings. And the recruitment team are clearly not doing their job because the squad is not good enough. Saying that, I think the players we have brought in have been relatively good signings, all of them on a permanent transfers, which we don't usually do. We usually bring in the odd few loans, which I'm surprised we haven't yet. But the signing of Tanganga, I think, is a real coup on a free transfer, of course. I look at Macaulay Langstaff, although unproven and yet to be given a chance, I think he can come good for us and he can score goals. I think the signing of Femi Aziz earlier last week was a very good signing, as well as one for the future in Daniel Kelly. However, the facts are the squad needs more. We need more depth, especially in that attacking areas, and I think as well in the midfield. So far, if I look at where we are being this season, to be honest, mate, I don't really know. If I look at our first 3 games, I think in spells we've played quite well. I thought in the Watford game we was unlucky. We were just leaking silly goals. 1 or 2, I think Jensen in goal could have done better. But I thought we was unlucky on the opening day. Then I look at the Bristol City game again. We leaking so many goals, but we did play well in that second half. We were arguably the better side. And yet at the weekend, I thought we defensively shored up a lot better and we were good for large amounts of the game. Unlucky maybe not to not win the game. So despite being winless and free so far, I still think there's more to come. And notoriously, Millwall actually start seasons really poorly. We don't ever start seasons very well. So listen, unfortunately, Millwall don't have the backing and the finances to compete with the big boys at the top end of this division. We know that. Unfortunately, we don't. If you look at our record transfers, etc., and you look at how some of the other signings around us and some of the clubs around us are signing, unfortunately, we don't have the money to compete. However, I think a top 12 finish and a good cup run under Neil Harris, let's say we go far in one of the Carabao or FA Cup, I think that can be deemed a relatively successful season. That's being realistic, of course. We would love to get in the playoffs. That would be the aim for Neil Harris and co to get into the playoffs. Do I think it will happen on today's basis with the way we started the season and the current squad? I don't, unfortunately. However, I'll come May next year. Would I be happy with a top 12 finish? I probably would.
We're not in Project 50 points then, George, this year then?
No, hopefully not. Fingers crossed not. No. To be honest with you, under Neil Harris, I always feel relatively safe. I don't feel like Neil Harris would get us relegated. I trust the man. I think he's a Millwall man. He knows exactly what he's doing. And no, with that squad of players, you know that every single one of them wants to play for the manager. And the ones which haven't, he's got rid of already, aka Kevin Nisbet. So I like to think that Neil Harris will have us safe by May, hopefully before May. And I don't personally think relegation will be an issue this year, especially under his leadership.
You mentioned this bit. We were coming on to talk about him next. I found his comments, not even as a Millwall fan, incredibly disrespectful. He just joined Aberdeen on a season-long loan. I think he forgets perhaps that it was a loan. He might be back in Millwall colours this time next season. He kind of said Aberdeen, once Aberdeen called, there was no kind of thinking about it. You have to kind of go. Even suggesting that Aberdeen is a much more attractive club to play for than Millwall. I mean, my thoughts on Scottish football, you will only hear them because they're not kind. I personally don't think Aberdeen are a bigger club than Millwall. That's not just because I've got two Millwall fans in front of me here. Callum, how have the fan base reacted to what he's had to say? And I'm guessing you're not unhappy about him leaving.
No, I think the majority of the fans are happy to see him go, to be honest. He hasn't done a lot. He had an injury crisis last season. Hardly played. When he did play, wasn't doing a lot in games. But you could probably put that down to not having enough creativity in the team. But no, yeah, majority of the fans that I've spoken to they're happy that he's gone. They want to get money for him. They want him out the door. So I think it's good for him to go back to Scotland, play some regular football. There is a release clause that we can buy him back in January as well. So that could be something. But I don't think Harris would do that. I think Harris and him have fallen out, and I think he just sent him packing, to be honest. So I think it's the best thing for both parties, to be honest. I think he just wasn't doing enough for me. And we need to get someone else in that's better and can contribute more to the team.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'll just add to that. I do agree. I think the Kevin Nisbet situation is long gone now. I think he came in last summer and it was a difficult season for everyone. 3 managers. Nisbet himself had lots of injuries after what looked like a very good start to the season. He scored a few, was firing pre-season. But one thing or another has just changed his head, and he's gone away in the summer. And I don't know about you, mate, but I thought he came in very, very overweight. If you don't know if you've seen the pictures,
Yeah.
He came back this season extremely overweight, and he's obviously lost his spot in the pecking order with Langstaff coming in. You've got Tom Bradshaw still in there as well. He's obviously just lost his spot in the pecking order, and he's gone, basically, F this, I'm going. So listen, if you don't want to play for the football club, and Neil Harris knows this, if you don't want to play for the club, you've got to go, because at that point he's just being a disturbance to the dressing room. So
Absolutely. Coming the other way from Scotland, then I think George, you mentioned this. Daniel Kelly from Celtic, 18 years old, so always, I'm not sure he's going to be a starter in midfield, but you never know. What do we know about him, George?
Well, he's young. He's a young kid. Come through the Celtics Academy, and has already made a handful of appearances for them, and even scored a goal as well. So, but what we do know is that, firstly, from the recruitment side of things, although they do get a lot of stick, I think this is certainly a bright prospect for the future. In a squad, if you look at the average age of the Millwall squad, it's actually one of the highest in the division, and in terms of squad size, we've got one of the lowest. So that shows we need more bodies in the building and more younger youth players in the building. So I think Daniel Kelly certainly fits that mould. He's a tough tackling midfielder. Obviously, we haven't seen anything from him yet, but from what I'm hearing from Celtic fans and from the few clips you see online, he's a tough tackling midfielder who likes to get involved, likes to get forward, and is certainly one for the future. So certainly going forward, I think it's a good prospect, say, in that middle of the park.
I'm going to rename Millwall Undisclosed Fee FC, because every transfer that you get in, you never seem to share the details of how much for. Langstaff was undisclosed. Danny Kelly has been undisclosed. Femi Aziz from Reading is undisclosed. What are you hiding, Callum?
I have no idea. No idea. Yeah, I think the signings have been positive so far. I really like Daniel Kelly. I was watching a podcast the other day with a Celtic fan, just saying that how good he was, and they can't believe that he's gone. So I think that's a real coup for us getting him. Femi Aziz, he's been talked about all through the summer. Obviously Reading have gone through down into League One, and obviously they need the money. So obviously it's a real good coup for us to get him in. I think it's about 1 million we've paid for him, including add-ons. So yeah, very good player. Showed a few bright signs against Hull, not a lot because he didn't really get a lot of time. He only got about 10 minutes. But yeah, I'm looking forward to watching him play. Hopefully he starts on next Saturday. I'd love to see him get 90. But yeah, I think we need that. We're crying out for that sort of take people on direct wingers. But I don't know. I'm kind of excited to see what Harris does, whether he plays Aziz on the right or Eze on the right. I'd like to see Eze in that number 10 role. I think that obviously George Honeyman's playing 10 at the moment behind Bradshaw. I don't know about what George thinks, but I don't really. He grafts. He's a hard worker, but I just think Eze in that 10, Aziz on the right and Watmore on the left, with possibly Langstaff up top. I'd love Harris to do that, but we all know as Mill fans, we're just dreaming. So he'll probably just play the same starting 11 always. But no, I'd love to see that. That'd be my front four for Saturday. Aziz on the right, Eze behind Langstaff, and Watmore on the left.
You taking that, George?
Yeah, I agree. I'd like to see George Honeyman drop slightly back, sort of into a midfield pivot. I think it's hard to displace one of Saville and Denor, but I think George Honeyman certainly further backwards is where his better position is. And that obviously then gives Eze the freedom to play in that number 10 position, where he's a lot more creative, a lot more silky on the ball. And then on the right-hand side, that then frees up Aziz to go in that position. So obviously we still have Zian Fleming to come back. He's been injured so far all season, which, listen, on paper, I think Zian Fleming's our best player. He's been our top goal scorer last season. And he can chip in with assists as well. So we still got that sort of excitement of him coming back. But for sure, I think Duncan Watmore started this season fairly well. He's our top goal scorer, 3 goals so far. Him off the left-hand side, and then it's sort of either between Langstaff and Bradshaw up front. But on paper, the squad is our starting 11 is okay. I think our starting 11 is certainly top 12 in the Championship. I just think the depth around it isn't quite there, unfortunately. So we'll have to see. But with the transfer window shut, and I believe it's Friday, the transfer window shuts.
Yep.
I'm still hoping we bring in another striker. We've been linked with Lyndon Dykes, and we've also been linked with Josh Coburn. I really like the look of Josh Coburn at Middlesbrough. I watched him play away at Leeds the other week, and he scored and got an assist. Very mobile striker, target man, and young as well. I still believe a target man striker is what we need come Friday.
Right. Good luck against Sheffield Wednesday, as a team that came and beat you well last season, and they are a team that on the last away trip conceded 4 to Sunderland. So they have a very fragile defence and no confidence at the moment. So I think this might be your first 3 points. I don't get too excited about it, but
fingers crossed.
Right, cheers for joining us. If you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. Press the subscribe button, press the like button, follow Callum at Wacko Callum, whatever that is, 1022X. Follow George at George.c9, and also follow both, I think, on TikTok. George certainly is one of our he's here because of his well-renowned Millwall takes on TikTok, and give them both a like on all the platforms you can find. And of course, make sure you comment below on your predictions for the game, as always. Thank you very much for joining us, both of you. Good to see you back, George. And we'll see you next week where we'll review the results of hopefully your first 3 points of the season. Cheers, fellas.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you.